What is happening, Miles? Big's idea. How are you today, my friend?
Hey, Dave. Doing good. Hey, I like your shirt. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, right? I know. Hey, listen, man. It's I don't say this lightly because I know it's not how it is everywhere else, but it's hot where we're at. So, absolutely. Just we're making our road trip. We're heading back into Alabama as we speak.
Nice. Yeah, I've been enjoying the other days this week where you're going live with the RV in the back and showing us the road, man. It's cool.
It's been a light week for us as far as content. Just with the travel, we had to kind of keep it light. We knew we had to put some miles on. Can you believe since we picked this up in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, we've already done 3,000 miles.
I believe
3,000 miles. So I mean, we've been from Alabama to Pennsylvania to South Carolina, the East Coast, Florida, back to Alabama.
Busy
it's a rough
guy.
life, Miles. and trying to work and pull over in between when you're looking for diesel. So, increasing influence, Miles. Here we are, another week, another episode on increasing influence. If you were just tuning in, please hit that like and share button. We are live, 6 days a week right now, but Miles and I are live on Thursdays, 1 p.m., and this show is all about increasing your influence, all about increasing your personal branding or your business branding and why we're doing it. And today we're going to talk about the 5 top reasons why, and we want to hear from you why. Right, Miles, why? The big question is why? Why spend all this time? Why pull over on the side of the road and do a show? Why?
Yeah, why, Dave? Why the hell are you doing that?
I know, right? So, with that said, Miles, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and we're going to keep doing this for as long as we can possibly do it. All right, Miles. So here we go. We have the buildings. We have the banners. Building your personal brand is the topic of conversation today. How are you doing it? And we want to hear from you, the audience, what your 5 top reasons for doing it is, or why you are not doing it. No wrong answer, other than we might light you up if you're not doing it. Might, but don't be scared. What do you think, Miles?
So, yeah, for my why, I think the first one, and you and I have talked about this, and you've said certain stats on this before when you've shared, slides from your presentation about the power being in your pocket and how many people are not posting content on a site like YouTube, right? Is that it sets you apart. The very act of creating content and posting versus just consuming puts you in the very small percentage of people who are actually doing that. It might seem very crowded. It might seem like everybody's saying the same thing, right? I hear all those excuses why some people don't do it. But when you look at the data, the numbers show that way more people, it's something like, over 80% of people are just consuming versus actually posting and creating. So when you can post and post consistently, you set yourself higher up on a pedestal where other people are going to see that and say, I want to be like Dave, right? I want to do what he's doing. And you make yourself look like you know what you're talking about, Dave, even if you don't know what you're talking about. By talking about it,
wonder, Miles.
You position yourself as an authority. I know, me too. People would say to me all the time, like, wow, you're doing this, you're doing that. And they like build it up to be this glamorous thing. And inside, I'm just like, well, geez, I have you fooled, right?
I love it. Well, you don't have me fooled. You definitely know what you're talking about. And that's what's so much fun about this. Greg Ugaldi's joining us from Twitch. I see Jen in the back of the Charlie Daniels party bus. Very cool. Wait, that is your new digs? Laughing out loud. Well, when it's not a party bus, we take down the pole in the middle, all that stuff, and it turns into a family-friendly bus pretty quick. But, hey, listen, Miles, personal branding, Greg Ugaldi's somebody. We can use him as an example today. He spends time on social media. And, he has a team of people. I mean, it's not like Greg Ugaldi's, out there without any, help and what have you. He has people at the National Association of Home Builders that can help him and do things. But at the same time, he's spending the time doing it. He comes on our show. He comments on the show. But getting back to maybe not spending this on Greg so much, but getting back into the overall concept, let me rethink what I was going to say here. Because when we think about who's personal branding, Miles, how many of your friends are personal branding to the extent where you see them on a regular basis on social media? Like seriously branding themselves versus just commenting on somebody's post.
I think that would be you, Dave.
Well, that's it, right?
That's it.
So
I really
when
don't.
people
I've made friends doing this, right? But friends I had before I started doing this kind of stuff, I think, pretty sure I'm the only one, like
Right.
my college friends, as an example.
So it's not, but it's not really as crowded as people think.
Exactly.
It looks crowded because you're dealing with, you see us all the time, or, Greg Ugaldi, or any of the other great guests, Maya and Gordon, who we recently just had on.
Right.
You see them all the time. And that's why they're taking that step ladder. They're succeeding. They're getting to that next level, which is fun to watch. So, all right, if you're joining us right now, we want to understand your why or why not. And what are your 5 reasons why, or your 5 reasons why you are not being out there personal branding. It is not about a popularity contest. It's not. I mean, some people it is, I guess. But for the most part, like I'm in a very niche market, construction, offsite construction. I say niche, construction's huge, but I started in offsite construction. Now we've gotten bigger, but the reality of it is it's not a popularity contest. It's not about how many people are connected to you. It's about the information that you put out there, whether people like or share or comment or let you know they're there, because they don't a lot of the times, is what's going to set you apart from the crowd. Imagine, I say this to everybody, Miles, and you as well. Why ever have to pull a resume out? If I go for a job interview, if I stop doing this and say, hey, listen, I want to go work for the man or the woman, at the wherever, will I ever need to pull out a resume?
I mean, probably they're going to ask you for a resume, but you can put on your resume the website and your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
And when they go check you out versus check somebody else out, it's going to be like, whoa, all this stuff pops out, and the resume will look a lot different because you can note a lot of the experiences you've had while doing this. Right. And when you actually get an interview, you'll have way more to talk about than somebody that just sat in their cube and did what they were told for 8 hours a day, 20 years of their life, So another reason for me, kind of going off of that, right, is experimentation. So I like to, stuff I do personally, I'll do stuff for me that I wouldn't do for any of my clients because I'm not sure if it works, right? So I'll experiment and test things and then see what works or what doesn't. And then when someone asks me what to do, I can tell them what has worked and also what potentially to stay away from based on experience, not just based off of some other person's blog article that I read, right? It's not like an academic opinion at that point. I can speak to things I've actually done and tried and failed at because I'm out there actively doing things myself.
Yeah, no, very good point. And isn't life all about lessons to begin with and trying new things, whether you succeed or fail, and you learn more from the things you fail at than you do than you succeed at? All right, Miles. So how do you stand out from the crowd doing this, right? I mean, this is just by doing something, by putting a post out there, by putting yourself out there in video or starting a podcast. We know so many successful people that have podcasts that are doing this for, they're doing one podcast a month. They're not doing it all the time, once a week, like you were doing it for a while. So, I mean, there are ways to do this and still brand yourself and still stand out from the crowd. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. And I think the best way to stand out from the crowd is to really just be yourself. Yeah. It's a cliche saying, but what I mean by that is don't be who you think people want you to be or create this like polished version of yourself. Like, look, we're sitting here in t-shirts, hanging out. I was just feeding my 1.5-month-old a bottle. It's hanging out in the That's
not yours,
right? No. I haven't tried it yet. We'll see. Not that thirsty. But you just have to be yourself. Show your personality. Like we all have these unique traits. There's only one of you, right? So if you want to stand out from the crowd, you really just have to be you. You might choose to magnify certain things based on how people respond, but don't hold back, because when you try to be like appeal to everybody or just like the vanilla version of yourself, kind of bland, you become bland and you don't stand out from the crowd. You've got to trip over your words and recover. You've got to, joke about baby bottles and show up in a t-shirt versus a sport jacket every now and then, joke about your party bus, right? You give people insight into who you are. They connect with that. Yep. And then they connect with your content. Because anybody could have the conversation we're having right now. Right. People could get something from it, but people are watching today because they kind of like me and you, right? They connect with something about you and I, so they keep coming back every Thursday.
That's
because
a bold statement.
We're honest. Yeah, I guess I could put them. Here I am just flailing my arms around with the baby ball. I could put this down now.
Just go get the baby and feed it during the show. I mean, we all have lives, and we're all juggling, family and COVID, and everything's different. In a way, sometimes not to get off that subject, but sometimes it's a little bit nicer. This COVID, in a sense of it's lightened up the load on expectations of always having to be prim and proper. Like people really started to understand that moms and dads have families at home.
Right.
There are things going on, just like you said, right? I mean, and it's harder now, but harder in the sense that you're there all the time. But I think it was actually harder when you had to go to the office all the time, sometimes, to me, because a lot of people would leave at 7, they come home at 8 o'clock at night.
Well, yeah, and then then talk about balance, right? Then you see your kids for like half an hour a day.
Right.
Right. And that wears on you mentally because you're wishing you were someplace else versus just being in it and figuring out the actual balance when both are going on at one time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Greg's tuning in today. Thanks, Greg. We love it, man. Great show today. Super worthwhile exercise. Take a look at yourself. A personal inventory is helpful. And he also had a follow-up. When I ran for the NAHB Senior Officer, it forced me to promote myself and review my accomplishments and goals. I strongly recommend that everyone review their areas for improvement. Others will help. It's true. So for those of you out there listening, what does Miles need to improve on?
Yeah, tell me. I'm
teasing you, or me. Well, yeah, really, listen. I know I need to improve my look. Today I went with a shirt, like you said, as opposed to normally I do my suit jacket. That's kind of my thing, but
But I think that's good, though. We talk about increasing influence. You're showing you're not a robot, right? Like you do have clothes other than your button up and sport jacket, right? Like you're doing more than just standing in front of the camera. There's a side to you. There's a story behind that Pittsburgh shirt. People might watch this and not know that you have family in Pittsburgh, but now they do, and they'll going to connect with you because they love Pittsburgh or they hate Pittsburgh. But now there's something to talk about beyond just the business stuff, and that's a big part of standing out, like the banner you had up.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is, and that's part of that taking chances, right? It's funny. I struggle with that. I'm like, do I got to do the jacket today? Do I do the shirt today? When we're doing our expert interviews or our product spotlight, where we really have, somebody on the show that has a product or service or knowledge. To me, I like to wear the jacket and a shirt to show respect, right?
Sure.
They're here promoting their business or promoting their information. To me, it has to be very professional. On BS Friday, increasing influence, building modular. I think it can be a little more casual for sure, especially on increasing influence. So, and Coffee with Dave, who knows what I show up on those? Who knows? All right, love it. All right, so we talked about this already. It's a way to make a personal connection.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time. Greg, and talking about what Greg was talking about on his side of things, where he had to promote himself, he had to put himself out there, he had to look at it with his public view, I guess, what his public goals are, right? What does he want to achieve as a public figure, right?
Absolutely.
And part of being a public figure or just being somebody in your niche, like this is how we started, it's about making those personal connections. We know so many people that if we never did our show, Miles, I wouldn't have a clue who they are, and they wouldn't know who I was, and it would not have changed my life the way it has if we didn't do the show.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think about people that I text with or have phone calls with on a weekly basis that I met through a cold direct message on Instagram, asking them to be on my podcast 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're, basically virtual pen pals of sorts, right? It's amazing. And it never would have happened. And, it never would have broadened my horizons if I hadn't just put myself out there to start.
Broaden your horizons. Right, that's a t-shirt list, right? Andrew Seeley says he always learns from us too. Let's see here, where we at? Always fun to learn from the two of you. What's up, Andrew?
Yeah,
Andrew,
thanks,
when's your video podcast series beginning? Curious. Miles, you ever seen my hair this long, by the way? I just noticed in the sunlight, it's like a little frizzy. I need a haircut, man. I can't stand. I'm like you, or I'm just going to have to take the shaver to it. But
yeah, it's funny. One of my new clients at Mojo Active, we're just talking to them, could be a barbershop supply company. So maybe I can hook you up, Dave.
Right. All right, moving on. Thank you, So, Andrew, we will look forward to seeing your personal influence.
Saturdays with Seeley. There you go.
Saturdays with Seeley. That's right. Bring it on. All right, understand your market. Now, if I got up and said, my kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch and that's what's causing my weight issue, nobody's really going to want to listen to that on my show, right? I mean,
maybe
it's just not. Well, I mean,
it sounds like there's a story there.
I'm eating too much Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the morning with the kids. I guess understanding your market. What does that truly mean? Our market, my market, I understand, I think I understand it. Every once in a while it throws me a curveball. But for the most part, we, even in our conversations on this show, try and stay within our lane. Right. This is what we know. When we do venture outside our lanes, it gets a little fuzzy, or you don't get the interaction or the content that you really want to get because you're not an expert at it, or you don't feel as confident in it. But for anybody out there, how important is it for them to understand their market or their personal brand on what they're trying to get out to the world?
I think it's it's so important. I mean, if you don't understand the market, then what you put out there is not going to be informed. It's not going to be what they want. And you're going to spend all this time and effort to not get the result you're looking for. For me, this goes back to experimentation. Something I do, whether it's a podcast or doing coaching programs or anything, right, is you can advertise things, not paid advertising, go into a Facebook group for somebody you think is your market. Let's say for me, I'm doing coaching stuff. It's like a personal development Facebook group. I can go into that group, become a member. I can see what people are asking for and talking about in that group, and then say, oh, okay, it sounds like they might want this product or service. Right. Then I can post in that group and say, hey, everyone, great news. I've got this brand new shiny toy. It's all about this. Shoot me a DM or comment here if you're interested in a copy or for more information. Now, at this point, I haven't actually made that thing. It doesn't exist yet. But if people comment and ask for it, now I can go make it. So you can quickly iterate and introduce new things without actually spending time making it if nobody wants it. I've had a lot of things that I thought people are going to love this. They're going to give me their email address and I'll grow my email list for this guide about XYZ thing that I think is really cool and important. I posted in there to see who wants it and nobody wants it. Well, I just saved myself 4 hours of writing and formatting and making this thing because nobody wants it. So why would I make it? It's in my head. I don't even make it for me. So then I wait a couple days and I post my next idea. And now everyone wants that one. So I actually take the time and do it. So now I just learned something and I better understand what resonates with my market and what I should spend my time on. And social media is great for that. It actually lets you prove things out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it really does. It lets you get feedback as well, right? It's having that feedback. We are interviewing an individual this week for an upcoming show next month. It was an architect out of Canada. And one of the things that came up was, well, they're really not ready yet to showcase what they're working on because it's pretty spectacular stuff. And one of the comments that came out of it when we were discussing this was, well, you do realize that by showing people and having this conversation on what you're working on now might give you the feedback to make it even better when you do launch 100%. Right? It's kind of that, like, put yourself out there. You might get the feedback you want. You might get the feedback you don't want. But either way, you're going to learn something about yourself and where you're going.
Totally.
Super cool.
Yeah, and it gives you time to maybe change something before you're all the way done and you think it's ready,
Right.
And then you got to go back and do even more rework.
Let's see. Greg's talking about the website. It popped on already. Let me look. No Saturdays with Sealy podcast coming from me, but more videos on the way. Videos, let's do it, man. I love it. I'll be out to see you, Andrew, soon. We'll be heading to Texas not too long. Looking forward to it. All right, Jennifer, the feedback you get on social will help you understand your market. They will share their mindset with you via comments and reactions, not the vanity metrics, but the comments that provide actionable insight. I mean, it's very true, right? This is also a proving ground to put something out there, to do trial runs, to test something, to get different ideas, to have people comment. One of the biggest things that comes out of our show is the feedback and the connections people make.
Yeah.
Feedback.
If there's one thing that there's plenty of on social media, it's opinions. And so people will let you know what they think. Absolutely.
Everybody has one. I know it. All right, so there you go. We got into it a little bit more. It expands your reach into your business, and not only does it expand your reach into your own business, it can give you an inside look to what is going on. And like you said, Miles, it'll tell you if you're beating the right drum, the tune. If you're not beating the right tune, you'll know quick. People will tell you, or people just won't even bother to tune in, right? That's what happens. I mean, there's some days we have our show and you get 5 people. There's some days we'll have 100 and some people on the show. There's no rhyme or reason. There's a whole lot going on in the world. I think it's just, you got to be consistent. You got to just constantly put it out there. You'll have winners, you'll have losers, and just rock and roll with it. All right. What is this one here? Everyone is already there.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't, like stretch your arms without hitting somebody that's on Instagram or Facebook, right? Everybody's on there consuming stuff, right? So you gotta throw your hat in the ring, and you can't make excuses for, I'm 40, I shouldn't be on TikTok, or whatever. Dave's just got to bite the bullet and buy an iPhone so he can be on Clubhouse, right? Like, you have to just jump in and go where the people are, so that you can do it. Go ahead. I know I'm ripping on you.
No, it's all right. You got to jump in, and Clubhouse is hot. I know it. I don't have an iPhone. I have an Android, and it's haunting me. I even said to Jen, I said, I'm going to have to borrow yours or the kids' phones and just do it. And then I said, you know what? I'm just gonna have to go to another carrier and get them to buy me out of my plan so they can give me an iPhone on it. Because we just all upgraded our phones not too long ago. Really? It's not like a cheap venture to get into another phone or plan. But you're right. Everybody's there. Everybody is there. Everybody somewhere or another is on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. What's the other one that's out there? Clubhouse. You name it, they're out there. People are on it. There's very few people in this world that I know, anyhow, that are not on some sort of social media platform, regardless of what it is. And I think that's a big wake-up call for people to put their stuff out there, whether you're a business or a personal branding. If you're not there, you're losing. Bottom line, you will lose in the long run. There's nothing.
Yeah, and the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be, right? The key word in this phrase is they're already there, already. It's like walking into a dinner party that's been going on for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in the room is already forging connections and deeper bonds, and you're showing up as the new guy, and now you have to awkwardly insert yourself into conversations and hope people allow you to come in and you fit into the group.
Right.
Whereas if you were there when the party started, it's a little bit awkward at first, but then you have a spot. It's solidified. Here's your role, and it's the same thing online. So you just got to bite the bullet and do it if you haven't already. And if you have done it and you're not seeing the results you want, then you just have to, you got to switch it up. You got to try something different. You got to keep experimenting, try different platforms.
That's right.
Really look at what has worked versus what hasn't worked, and it just goes back to all the things we talked about. Like, you got to figure out what has set you apart, or who you look up to and what sets them apart, and how you can do your own version of that. Are you actually making personal connections and talking to people, or is it just one way? You're shoving content down people's throats and there's no back and forth.
Yeah.
And then are you putting stuff out there that's not actually, catering to your market, and you're just kind of getting lost in the noise of the internet, right? So it's all these steps.
Also a way to learn.
All these steps are like ongoing. It's not like you do it once and you're done. It's a rinse and repeat forever.
But so you make a good point there. But it's not something you do one and done. Like, you have to give it a couple months of putting the same content out there. The algorithms don't know you exist yet, for one. And two, you're going to fail. Bottom line, I always say it, even with this live stream, right before we went live, we were having some internet issues. It's the same thing. It's live. It's going to go wrong. I just accept that. It will happen. Nothing you can do about it. And watch the newscasters out there, right? Their streams go down all the time on Channel News. So, but you got to be consistent. Just don't do 1 or 2 miles. I don't want to give people the wrong impression, right? You got to do several of these and get it done.
Yeah. I mean, for example, right, when I was doing my little videos, and my whole purpose was to get LinkedIn Live. It took me doing one a day every single day for 60 days in order for me to hit the goal that I had. It wasn't like I just threw a couple out there and then stopped. It was for 2 months straight every single day in order to get the result I wanted to. And that's just a small example.
I agree. All right. So Brett Musson, hey, Dr. Musson, man, I feel like it's been forever since we spoke. I hope you were well. Thanks for tuning in today. How do you sort feedback from noise?
Interesting. So I guess so we're talking about comments from people, right? Like what's actual helpful feedback versus just garbage.
Listen, from my perspective, when you have a particular topic that you're talking about, you'll know what's noise versus the feedback, in my opinion. If you're talking about something you don't understand or don't have some, toes in the water on, it may be a little bit harder, but I don't know. I mean, it can get very convoluted, the conversation.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Musson has a great point. But I also think that when you know your subject, you've researched your subject or whatever it is you're talking about or your brand, to me, I don't know. I can see through a lot of the noise to what the meat and potatoes are.
Yeah, I think feedback is asked for and noise just sort of arrives, right? So like when you ask a direct question, you're asking for feedback and you're getting fed back that opinion, that information. The noise is when someone's just dropping in your comment section, say, hey, I got one guy on here a couple of weeks ago, right? Follow for follow, and he's dropping links and it's noise. There are people that pop in and just tell you you're an idiot, right? And just completely disagree with you, but aren't offering anything constructive, right? That's noisy. Versus feedback where it's a question like that from him, right? Where we invited that in. And so that becomes an element of feedback and opens it up for that two-way conversation versus like a one-way just argument where you're talking at the wall with somebody.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right on that. We just had yesterday's show or the day before? A lady popped in, in her comments. This is the third time I asked you to remove me from your list. This is LinkedIn. And it was funny that the audience kind of chimed in, because I'm like, I don't control who LinkedIn tags,
right?
And I sent her a personal message afterwards, the same way I did the last two times, but. Well, noise can be in several different ways. All right, Brett, follow up. Hey, Dave. Yeah, I'm well. A related question. Do you prioritize number of eyes or quality of your audience? All right. This is my favorite topic of conversation. For what we do, Brett, and for the people that we like yourself, Brett, that I want to connect with, it's more about the quality of the people than it is the quantity. The quantity does not change how we think differently in our industry. Now, if this was a consumer-based, video feed, video show that we do or live broadcast, I think it'd be a little bit different. But for what we do, having people such as yourself, Greg Ugaldi, and all the others, experts and universities that we have on the show, to me, it's about the quality, and that's why it's by invite only to the show. The quality of the people, I think, make a bigger difference and have a larger impact on our discussions. Now, with that said, we also need some quantity on the consumer base, because the way I'm feeling now is we need the consumer to ask for our products. We need the consumer to ask for a better product. We need the consumer, just like the pharmaceutical industry, and I use this analogy all the time, they go after the consumer and say, hey, tell your doctor you want to try this.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, why not go to the consumer and say, hey, you need a modular home. You need a panelized home. You need a healthier system. Hey, do you know that your homes are making you sick? You should look at this type of filtering system, ... right? I don't know if that answers your question, Dr. Musson, but to me, the quality of the people is much more important at this point than the quantity. Now, that's going to change, obviously, as we keep growing maybe, but that's where we're at today.
Yeah, I think a good summary of what you said, if you think about it this way, is that if you focus on quality first, you'll end up getting quantity.
Yeah.
But when you focus on the quantity first, you don't always get the quality.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, everybody wants both. You want a high amount of quality when it comes to your audience. So, but it's I think it's the order in which you prioritize them. That's what's most important, and that's what will help create the longevity for whatever it is you're really working towards.
Yeah, I agree. All right, one more question, and then that's going to be a wrap. We got Greg Ugaldi. What podcast TV personalities inspire each of you?
Well, Dave Cooper, of course, inspires the heck out of me. Number one.
I'll send you a check, buddy.
Well, seriously though, Dave, I mean, you have, and you've motivated me to do things. Like you pushed me out of my comfort zone to do video and invited me to do this, which has been a huge growth thing for me. So I was joking, but I'm also serious. So I put you up there. We've talked about Gary Vee a lot. I love Gary's stuff. Another one for me, his name's Bobby Bones. He's a morning host for a country music station, but then he also does TV. He was on like Dancing with the Stars. He's got a really cool personal story where he's like a self-made media personality doing TV and radio. And he's just built his brand on being like himself and not trying to fit any mold. So I like his stuff a lot. So that, and another one for me, and then I'll shut up and let you go, would be Jocko Willink. I just love his stuff.
Yeah.
Jocko is
Navy SEAL.
Everything he does is really cool. And I love the way he approaches it and his attitude. And
Jocko was the Navy SEAL, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I read his book, so that's cool. Jocko, does he have a podcast?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I bet that's interesting. I bet that's full of direct comments.
Yeah. He's every episode, just so many nuggets that you can pull from. He gets you thinking for sure.
So I think for me, Miles, you hit the first one. Was Gary Vee was probably my biggest inspiration, not because of the potty mouth New Jersey attitude, and his base of people are not my base of people. He goes after the different crowd for sure. Yeah. But what I liked about Gary was just the unscripted, unedited approach, and that's what inspired us to say, no, let's just turn on the camera. We do a little prep when we have guests on. But let's just go and do this. And I think that was one of my biggest inspirations for just do it, right? And then it grew to, you got to be, the content wins. You got to consistently be putting out the content. So that was my second Gary Vee thing when Jen almost, hit me over the head with a frying pan when I said, we're going live 6 days a week for 1 year. But, it did a lot of great things. On top of that, Jen always likes to say, we're similar to like a Larry King. If you remember who Larry King is, right?
I do. Yeah.
It's kind of the unscripted, the interview process, a sit down interview. And I'll tell you who I really like, and it might be controversial on this show, but I watching Ben Shapiro's podcast, the way he just does it. I mean, he's wicked smart, whether you believe it is conservative or any of that stuff. I appreciate his approach on how he does it. And it's just real conversation. His podcast is really unscripted as well. And so I would say those are probably my three. But my biggest issue is we're spending so much time prepping every day that I probably should be spending more time watching, but I don't. I haven't listened to Gary Vee in some time. Time takes over, man, for what you're doing. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're paying attention to where you're headed. And then you jump into little snippets here and there to get some new ideas when you get stuck. But for me, it's been, foot on the gas.
Literally 3,000 miles.
Literally. All right. Brett says, what your show does successfully is to turn your quality audience into content. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I mean, it's I've never really even thought about the show turning, the audience into content. I always looked at it the other way, but you're right. So many people have come on to the show who I've met through the audience.
Right.
And I think Dr. Musson, I think you and I met that way. And that's a really interesting piece of information or different way of thinking about it. So thank you. Yeah, it does. But again, guys like Dr. Musson, Greg Ugaldi, Margaret Whelan, all these other, big players that are out there that tune in, the quantity is better than the quality when it comes to the level of conversation. We're trying to change an industry, right, Miles? We're trying to bring an industry that's fragmented together. We're trying on this show and on Increasing Influence to not be in last place as an industry. I don't know if you saw the show yesterday. I played a John Deere video.
Okay.
Jen's amazing at finding this stuff. A John Deere video that shows how they're using their product as a service. And you would never believe what the agricultural community is doing and how John Deere is now digitized the farming process, how their tractors run. It's just not the farmer programming their stuff. There's a whole team of people that they have put in place to help them run their farms and their plots. and talk about the soil and how the machines are going to distribute and setting the right amount of fertilizer. And it's quite interesting. Or just answering emails while they're driving. So how do you think of your product as a service? Well, guess what? We should be that way in our industry. I know, Dr. Musson, you got me off personal branding now, but we will be that way in this industry. We're not going to be last place anymore because more people like us are going to personal brand. They're going to get to know us.
There you go. Yeah, I mean I think it takes us back to where we started, right? What sets you apart is the whole adage of people buy from people they like.
Yep.
Right. So
that's right.
You could have built up a really well-known corporate brand, but people are going to connect more with the people. So one can help feed the other. So yeah. I think that's kind of takes us to the beginning and just sets the stage again for why being active on social media is a huge driver of that.
Yeah, I agree. So it's super, super important. The biggest point that everybody's missing to this day, Miles, it's free, sort of.
For now. Yeah.
Well, listen, all right, even the live shows, yeah, I pay a little bit to have the nicer software, things of that nature, to make the banners and all that. But the reality of it is it costs you $0 to do this on Facebook. It costs you $0 to do it on LinkedIn if you have it. YouTube, $0.
Yep.
$0. And we talk about this all the time. Only 9% of small businesses, now this is the last year stat, is for using YouTube. But yet you have 1 out of every 3 people searching YouTube every day. If you're not there, it's like a fool's game to me. Why wouldn't you be there? So, small stats. That was a good show, Miles. What do you think? Time equals money?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
So, I'm going to give one more talk on that, and then I'm going to shut up, Miles. But time is important, right? Time is important. Think about all the products, Dr. Musson as well, where people call you and they ask you or your team the same thing over and over again. Wouldn't it be great to have a video that explains all this all the time? Because guess what? As a builder or as a manufacturer, a supplier, we are all trying not to get eliminated. It used to be people get in their cars, go to the store, and they'd look at your brand versus somebody else's brand, or they'd go to your model home center, look at your house versus another house, right? But not today. Now they go online. And I say to everybody, our job is how do we not get eliminated? And how you not get eliminated, Miles? Personal branding and business branding. Put yourself out there, have real conversations. So when people are done working on their time, they can watch what you're doing and fall in love with you. That's all there is to it. To me.
That's cool. I'm sold, Dave. I guess I'll start doing it.
Did I miss something? Would you read my words? Lion. Oh. Did I miss something? Let me look.
I didn't see him come up.
Hi, Amit. If you posted something and I didn't see it, my apologies, but it's not coming up on my feed. You don't see it on your side anywhere, huh, Miles?
I don't know.
All right. Well, listen, I'll give you a few seconds if you want to put it back in there, and we'll give it a shot. So I definitely see that you're popping up. I will definitely read your words. Oh, there it is. Let's see what they wrote. Hi, friends. I don't know who you are, but I would like to stop you for a moment exactly where you are. Free your jaws, release tension. This is interesting. Release tension, your shoulders, just relax for a while. Now, if it's meant for you, we'll definitely get it. We'll have something unique, which is given to us by universe, as we know that every single human being on the planet is unique in its own. Everyone has something that they could deliver to the universe. In return, they will always get what is meant. Wow, cool. I wish. This is why I do video, Amit, right? And this is my gift to the universe. I do video because you do not want me to write. You do not want me to write. I was on a subcommittee meeting this morning with the NAHB, the Building Systems Council, and they were looking because they have an app that they've been using, and they're looking to launch it, and they were looking for subcommittee, and they said they need editors. And I was like, I'm out.
Sorry,
that's it for me right there. That's just going to be painful for me, and what will happen is Jen behind the scenes is going to have to do all the work, and I was like, I'm out. Do you want to talk about video content? I'm in.
Sure.
Love it. I love it. All right. Dr. Musson, I use your interview to answer questions. That's awesome. We've heard that several times, because we do go through the process. So that's great testimony. Thank you, Dr. Musson.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Miles, I got to get back foot on the gas here. We're going to head up the road. We're going to Red Bay, Alabama. Would you like to join us? It really is. I think it's like 76 degrees here or something like that. It's really not too bad. I got a little sunburn yesterday.
I finally saw the sun for the first time in for 2 weeks here in Pennsylvania.
I know it.
But it still got snow.
I know it. Well, listen, you know what, Miles, these impromptu shows that we do on Thursdays when we don't have guests, I actually really, it's amazing the conversations that's been coming out of them recently.
Yeah, I like them. Forget guests, Dave.
Forget guests. Hey, listen, we got nothing.
I love doing this. Just showing
quality on this show. So, all right, everybody, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Brent, Amit, new to the show. Thank you, Amit, for joining us. We are live 6 days a week, so please join us again in the future. We'd love to hear your comments and your wisdom. And my name is Dave Cooper. Miles Biggs Ideas. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Anything to say, Miles?
I was just waiting to see. I was letting you have the last word. See you, everybody.
All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on BS Friday, 1 p.m. Bye now.